We're live.
All right, here we go. Endgame live. One more time this season. That's right. 2020 is officially over. 2020 NFL season is about to be over. Week 17. So for those of you who pulled out a championship in week 16, congratulations. Hopefully we helped you along the way. If you're watching, you're probably still playing. If you are still playing for the championship in week 17, immediately after today, go talk to your commissioner and have them change that. Okay, we're about to read the list of all the players who are not playing today, and it's basically like an all-star team for football and fantasy football. There's a lot of players, you know this, in week 17, the final week, where the teams that have buys wrapped up, like the Chiefs, who happen to have some of the best players in the league, they're just resting their starters. Okay, so you don't have guys like Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, among others. And then there's also teams that aren't making the playoffs where they have guys rest. Okay, so, and of course, there's always COVID. There's going to be a really long list. I'm just going to go through the names of who is sitting out. But first, again, thank you to everybody who's watching. And if you've already hit subscribe, we appreciate it very much. If you haven't already, there's no really reason to wait. Just do it right now. Hit subscribe. We're going to try to help you win in week 17. Okay, and then if there's any breaking news too, of course, Chris is working hard on the wire here, trying to get us the latest updates, and we'll figure out what's what. But let's start with what we do know. Who's back? Well, the list is short. There's not many players who weren't playing or injured before that are coming back this week. But Cam Akers said he's going to give it a try. It would have been nice to have him playing in week 16, but didn't happen with the ankle sprain. But Darrell Henderson is also injured, so they're going to see. With all the Rams that are out, they need at least some sort of running game. So we'll see about Cam Akers. Who is in? Well, Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins are both in. Higgins was questionable this week. Boyd missed last week with a concussion. Looks like the Bengals receivers, for some reason, are going to give it a go. We'll see how that works out. It's a really must-win game for Baltimore on the other side. Could be some garbage time points, I guess, for the Bengals. As far as I know, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, Zeke Elliott is going to play. Of course, the Cowboys want to actually somehow try to win that division.
Yeah, Cowboys have something to play for. So he played last week. He's going to play this week. Definitely.
All right, there you go. Same thing, even though the Dolphins are going to be a playoff team, still vying for position there and facing the Bills. And Devonte Parker, because Jakeem Grant's been out, Devonte Parker, believe he is in and going to try to give it a go. But we'll check, of course, a lot of game time decisions here. Okay, are we ready? Here it is. Here's the list of who is not playing in week 17. Get ready to scratch off half of your roster. Who is officially out? This is official. Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, James Robinson, Mike Davis, Miles Sanders, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Latavius Murray. That's right. Both Saints running backs are out. Frank Gore, Christian McCaffrey, of course. Go to the receivers here now. Tyreek Hill, already mentioned. Keenan Allen is out. Julio Jones, still not playing. Terry McLaurin, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Chark, Cole Beasley, Sammy Watkins, and a couple others that we might get to later. But those are the notable ones. At quarterback, Pat Mahomes out. Jared Goff, of course, that thumb injury, he's not going to go. John Wolford is going to be the quarterback without Cooper Kupp. And then at tight end, and as far as Matthew Stafford, I think he is for some reason going to try to play again. So we're going to count him as in, but who knows how long he'll last. He could get pulled at halftime for all we know. And then at tight end, excuse me.
Bless you. Bless you.
I'm allergic to week 17.
I don't blame you.
At tight end, we have Dallas Goedert, Eric Ebron, and Kyle Rudolph. And then again, I think Travis Kelce, Chris, is going to play, but again, he could be pulled after like one series or one half. Is he actually playing?
He's playing? I'm actually surprised to hear that. Why is he playing? I thought they were benching all their starters.
I haven't seen him ruled as out. I don't see that he's been scratched, but I could be wrong. Hunter Henry is also out at tight ends, not playing. But again, we're going to try to get confirmation. I haven't seen Kelce ruled as out yet, but I wouldn't even start him even if he does play. They got Chad Henne at quarterback, and they really have nothing to play for. So we'll try to verify that. I think that's the main guys right now, unless there's somebody I'm missing.
No, I think that's it. I mean, there's a lot of guys, but those are the main ones. So I'm looking up Kelsey. It says he's a candidate to be rested in the regular season finale. I don't see why they wouldn't. He broke George Kittle's record last week, so it's not like he needs to go out there and, pick up 10 or 20 yards and then get benched. So I'd be very surprised if he started. And if he did start, I'd be very surprised if he played more than a series or two.
Okay, so I think he hasn't been officially ruled out, which means he might start the game, but he's probably going to play like the first series and that's it. So if you have Kelsey, just bench him. Don't play him this week.
Yeah, exactly. As tough as that is, you got to bench him.
All right. Anything else we need to know? Anything before we get to the standard disclaimers?
I don't think so. We have the questions are not rolling in, which is not a surprise, I guess. So I don't know. Do we want to just go through these injuries a little bit more, or what do we want to do? We don't really have any questions yet. What's up, Bill? Good to see you. We did get one comment from, I'm gonna butcher his name like I always do, Guilherme Batista. He said, "This is Guy from Sao Paulo, Brazil. You absolutely have no idea how much your vids help me with learning English." So
really,
if our fantasy football advice wasn't great, at least we helped somebody learn English. So that's pretty cool, I guess.
Cool. All right. Hey, we'll help any way that we can. We appreciate you watching, that's for sure. So yeah, if we get questions, well, of course we'll answer them. Not surprising, week 17, guys. We're here for you in case you do need help, or if you just want to watch and talk about the chaos of week 17. But let's break down some of the interesting matchups. And maybe we can talk DFS plays, maybe some interesting guys that you could substitute instead, because I'm getting ready to throw in some lineups here now that we know who's in and who's out. Right. So let's talk about the Saints. I think I've seen that Ty Montgomery is going to be their running back this week. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, that's the theory. But I mean, they don't really have, they don't really have any running backs, right? Like the entire running back room. Well, Kamara got tested positive, and the entire running back room was a close contact. So Ty Montgomery, who's basically, I think they have him as a wide receiver on that team, is going to be in running back. We've seen him, with the Packers. He can do it if need be, right? So it's just a matter of
in a pinch.
How much well, this is a pinch. This is definitely a pinch. So it's just more a matter, I guess, of how much work do we believe he's going to actually get. I think what is he listed as a running back or a wide receiver on DraftKings?
That's a good question. I'm actually going to go check because I'm going to be setting some lineups in a second now that we know. And I have some other names in mind. Montgomery, I mean, yeah, is he going to get a full complement of touches? No, but I mean, already Michael Thomas is out, right? And this is a team that doesn't have much incentive this week. They already got a playoffs. I mean, maybe seeding matters, but still, they're not going to go out and risk anything. They're not going to go all out because they don't need to win. So I could see a guy like him getting some touches. They're not going to have to be passing the ball a whole lot. So he's an interesting name, if nothing else, because he can catch the ball as a receiver / running back.
And he is listed as a running back, and he's only $4,000. And it is Carolina, like you said. You got to think he's going to get work in the passing game, at least, if not some carries. I don't even know. I know they called up running backs off the practice squad. I don't even know who the other running backs are starting today are. So, to be honest.
Well, there you go. And those guys are just there as bodies.
Players. Yeah. So he looks, but the downside is, what's his ownership percentage going to be? Like 40-50%?
That's true. He's almost chalky now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, for sure. He's basically their only running back. So
not as great, a tournament play, because you can't really get a big edge there. So that's true. I'd rather go with a guy maybe who's more of a home run play, but like Rodney Smith in Carolina. Even though on the other side there, it's a bad matchup because the Saints have a good run defense. But again, how hard are they going to be going to stop Rodney Smith? He might be a guy who gets enough touches, with Mike Davis out, that he does do something.
Yeah, he's also 4,000, so that's definitely a good pivot. I did see this morning, if you believe in these sort of things, the Chiefs are saying that Darwin Thompson is going to get the bulk of the work at running back.
See, that's interesting because initially early in the week I thought, well, Darrell Williams, because they're not going to play Bell very much, just because Edwards-Hilaire's out. Bell didn't even play that much last week. And now they're not going to risk him, with nothing to play for. He would be a guy who would make sense to sit. I thought it would be Darrell Williams again, but maybe they don't want to risk him either. Why not give Thompson a shot, right? Now, how much do you trust Thompson to actually do anything when he basically hasn't played all year, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying if you wanted more of like a tournament pivot, low ownership, because that news just came out this morning, so I doubt he'll have very high ownership. Obviously, I'd be much more excited about Darwin Thompson if Patrick Mahomes is playing, right? Because more chances to score. With I think what Chad Henne is the backup there in KC, if I'm not mistaken, right? Chad Henne.
Yeah, it's Henne.
So not as excited for that offense as I normally would be. But it's still, if you're looking for a cheap tournament potential home run, play, he's also 4,000. So
there you go. All right. So that's the deal on that game. Now let's talk about Minnesota because Dalvin Cook is out. Is Madison back? That's the question. Is he had missed some time, but is Alexander Madison now the guy, or is it a guy like Amir Abdullah? Because going in the revenge game against the Lions.
Well, that's the thing, right? So if you look at the Minnesota running backs, you got Abdullah's at 4,000, Mike Boone's at 4,000, and then I think Madison is at like in the sixes, if I remember correct. Let me see here. Yeah, he's at 6,100. So you gotta, if you're gonna play Alexander Madison today, you've got to believe that it's gonna be mostly Alexander Madison, and we've seen this before, where it's not always exclusively Alexander Madison. Now on the flip side, the matchup is Detroit. So
I mean, that's too good of a matchup to ignore completely, right? Even though I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, it's worth picking somebody, but that's, like you said, that's the question. Madison is kind of the obvious play. Do you think that they give the ball to a guy like Boone or Abdullah? Boone just always seems to let down, right? Oh, he's going to get a chance, and he does nothing, right? He's just a preseason hero. Abdullah is the interesting name to me because he's gotten as many touches as Boone lately, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And again, I don't know that the Vikings really care about the revenge game thing, but I mean, it's there, right? Maybe Abdullah's the guy, but that's definitely a lotto ticket.
Yeah. Now the thing with Madison is in the last month, he's had a concussion,
right?
Some other injury, and didn't he miss with COVID as well? Didn't he miss a week with COVID?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's missed like 3 of the last 4 games, and so
he's even 100% right now.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the Vikings aren't making the playoffs, so they don't really have to worry about it. But still, maybe they say, well, why risk it with this guy who's at least, our backup, our good young running back, and let Abdullah play. So I'd rather take the chance on the cheaper play there if I'm just going to throw somebody in my flex and hope that he goes off, which is kind of what you're doing anyways in week 17. To me, I'd rather try Abdullah, but that again, you're swinging for the fences there. But yeah, maybe he scores a touchdown. He scored a touchdown the other day, didn't he?
I don't think so. Let me see. Abdullah? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he scored at one point this season.
Well, does he have a touchdown this year? Maybe. Yes, he does have one touchdown this year. It came in week 9.
I could have sworn he scored just like last week or 2 weeks ago. I guess I'm wrong.
No, I know it feels like it because they were down at the 1 yard line and they gave the ball and Dalvin Cook wasn't out there. Remember? Okay. And there were so many Dalvin Cook versus Alvin Kamara matchups, and everybody that with Dalvin Cook is like, why is this happening? Alvin Kamara is scoring 6 touchdowns, and Dalvin Cook isn't even in the game at the 1 yard line. So.
Well,
we have gotten a few questions.
Okay.
So Greg Marks, Ty Johnson or J.K. Dobbins?
You got to put Dobbins. This is the thing that Baltimore's not a team that's going to rest its players, right? Baltimore wants to win. They need to win, I believe, just to make the playoffs. They're going to go hard against Cincinnati. So Dobbins is actually a really good play. I think I have him as top 10 running back this week.
Yeah, you got to start Dobbins for sure. He's in a great spot, and they're trying to win. All right, Alden Tahirovich, pick 3. Amari Cooper, T.Y. Hilton, Rodney Smith, J.D. I don't know. Who's J.D.? Who do you mean by J.D.? J.K. Dobbins, maybe? Akers, Montgomery, Ogunbowale, Godwin, Crowder. Wow.
Oh, okay.
And he also says I look like I got no sleep, so appreciate that. I did. I was up all night watching Cobra Kai with my wife.
Nice. Yeah, you know what? That's next on our list. Actually, we're gonna watch that because we just finished Queen's Gambit.
One of these.
Yeah, there you go. Trust me, every morning I got my coffee. So
definitely recommend Cobra Kai. Definitely recommend it if you haven't. We binge watched it last night. My wife loves that show. So, but anyways, nice. we gotta pick 3 between 10 guys here.
Okay, let's do what we usually do. Let's scratch off some names there that we wouldn't play first. So who's the first name?
I definitely would not play Akers this week. I'm nervous that he's way less than 100%. Kind of like what we saw Antonio Gibson in week 16, where he went out there and he tried to play through it, and he had an okay game, but definitely not an Antonio Gibson game. That I feel like Akers is way less than 100%.
And you're talking about a Rams offense without Jared Goff, without Cooper Kupp. I mean, you got a backup quarterback and not like a seasoned veteran backup quarterback. You're talking about a guy who was playing, what was it? I don't remember the difference anymore, the AAF or the XFL. So, yeah, I definitely, out of those names, I would scratch Akers. Let me see if I can remember some of the others. You got Godwin, Crowder, Ty Montgomery. Who else?
Amari Cooper, T.Y. Hilton. Yeah, is it Montgomery? Is it Ty Montgomery or David Montgomery? Because that definitely makes a difference.
I mean, if it's David Montgomery, he's a must start. I would assume he's talking about Ty Montgomery, but we don't know. To me, I think Cooper, you have to have him in there, right? The Cowboys in a great spot this week.
Yeah, Cowboys in a great spot. They're trying to win. They're going to try to win. So I think Cooper's definitely one of those guys. Man.
What do you think about Godwin? You think he's also a good matchup there? Tampa Bay, kind of one of those teams where how hard are they going to push? You figure they're going to win and they're kind of already in the playoffs, but they're not going to rest necessarily guys. I don't know how to feel about Godwin. I feel like you probably could feel safe with him relative to the rest of those players.
Yeah, actually he was going to be the one I was going to say. He's the wild card for me, right? Like I want to say Godwin, but at the same time, are the Bucs going to go out there and play hard, play a quarter, a half, the whole game, right? Because playoff seeding really doesn't matter this year, right? We've seen in the NFL, there's no home field advantage this year. It's gone. Like underdogs are I think underdogs might actually have a slight edge over, road teams might have a slight edge over home teams this year. So, yeah, Godwin's the one for me where I'm like, I feel like you have to play him, but at the same time, there's the risk of him not playing the whole game. So the JD is he clarified. So it's Ty Montgomery and JD McKissick.
Oh, JD McKissick. I mean, Gibson is playing.
You're gonna keep this run of big games going. Like, are we believing in? Is it time to believe in J.D. McKissick?
It could be. Well, Washington also kind of in a must-win situation. Philly is sort of rolling over because they know they're out of it. They're resting. Miles Sanders is not going to play. So McKissick. Did we clarify if it's Ty Montgomery or David Montgomery?
He said Ty Montgomery.
Okay. I would put McKissick over Ty Montgomery, I would think.
Yeah. Right. I think you got to. There's too much risk with Ty. I mean, Ty Montgomery could get all the touches or he could just be involved as a receiver. We don't really know.
Okay, we got Cooper as a yes. We got Godwin as a maybe. And then let's talk about Hilton because he's an interesting name. I mean, that's a great matchup. You can't get better than Jacksonville. Jacksonville in week 17, they've been rolling over all year. Zach Pascal's been the guy who's coming on lately. That's really the only thing that worries me is Hilton was hot. It's like Rivers is intentionally doing this thing where every couple of weeks he favors a different guy, right? At first, last 2 weeks has been Pascal. The 2 weeks before that, it was Hilton. 2 weeks before that, it was like Trey Burton. And then, he's going back and forth. I feel like Hilton is also a guy you can't bench just because of the matchup. So to me, I think he's also one of the three.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Hold on, I'm looking. So I just tweeted out or just saw an update for the Eagles secondary. They don't have Jalen Mills, Rodney McCoy, LeBlanc is out, Craig James, Devonte Matt. Like, wow. Nickel Roby Coleman tested positive, and both players will go on the reserve COVID list today. So he's out. So they have like nobody in their secondary right now.
Yeah, that secondary has been decimated really all year, and then now, like in this week, they're not going to have anybody. But we're talking about a running back who I know functions as a receiver, but with McKissick, I don't know
I think you got to play McKissick, especially with Alex Smith back. I know he's had 2 big games the last 2 weeks. McKissick, I'm talking about. But with Alex Smith back, he's going to get all those dump offs. So
that's true. No more Dwayne Haskins. RIP his fantasy value for.
Well, yeah, maybe his NFL value, right? But I definitely think Cooper, McKissick, and then like Hilton and Godwin are really close for me. I'd probably say Hilton just for the safety. You got to think he's going to play all 4 quarters. It's a great matchup. Right. I'd rather just take the safety of T.Y. Hilton.
His matchup is actually better. I know Atlanta, of course, really bad against receivers this year, but they've been better ever since Morris took over, a little bit better lately. But yeah, Godwin, exactly. You don't know exactly how many targets he's going to get. Hilton, I think, is the better play. So I'd go with those 3.
I think Evans isn't quite at 1,000 yards yet, right? On the season. I think he's like 50 something short.
Yeah, well, Evans has been the preferred receiver anyways. He's been the number 1 guy lately.
Well, I feel like those type of records are important to Bruce Arians. Like, he's a player guy. He'll want to get him those records. We saw last week when they were blowing Detroit out, Mike Evans was in there even in the 4th quarter when they were right when the backup quarterback was out there. Mike Evans was still out there catching passes. Like, it seemed like they wanted to get him that record last week if they could. He needed like 200 something yards. So,
no, it looks like he's still pretty far away. I see on this 779, but
no, he's at 960. So he needs 40 yards. So I feel like they might just go out there, force feed the ball to Mike Evans, get him his 1,000 yards, and then just bench everybody. But it's Bruce Arians.
960.
Bruce Arians, so you never know. Yeah, he's at 960. It's Bruce Arians, so you never know.
Oh, this is out of date. Man, Fantasy Pros, you got to update your stats. Okay.
Yeah, whatever you're looking at there, a week behind. That's what he had last week.
That was last week. Okay. No, yeah, and actually there's some thought maybe Antonio Brown finally would, go off because they want to get him going, get some juices flowing before the playoffs. But yeah, Godwin is a little risky. And Crowder, I get, the Jets now for some reason are trying to win, but I'm not going to trust them. So I would go with Hilton, Cooper, and McKissick.
Yeah, that would be my pick as well. Those would be my picks. All right. Highlight Time asks, Josh Jacobs or Zeke?
That's an interesting question. We haven't heard about Jacobs or the Raiders specifically. We know, of course, they got eliminated after that that brutal last-second loss to the Dolphins. That made me so sad. That was well-deserved, though. That pass interference call is BS. But anyways, I think, to me, I wonder, since Jacobs has been banged up and the Raiders don't have anything to play for, I know Gruden's a prideful guy. He's not going to rest, a lot of starters. I think Derek Carr's great spot. He's going to go all game. He's a guy who doesn't want to get benched. So Jacobs is interesting, though. I don't know that he'll get his full complement of touches. And we know Devonte Booker had a good game against the Broncos last time. This is his former team. I think that we'll see a little bit more of him. I feel like Jacobs is a little risky this week. It's not like he's really been going off anyways. So I think this is a week where with the Cowboys needing everything, right, to try to win, and the Giants are, dead in the water, and their run defense has been kind of poor anyways, I prefer Zeke. That's me.
Actually, the Giants I thought the Giants could technically make the playoffs.
I think they could, but I mean, dead, like they're just not good anymore.
Oh, okay. Like if they beat the Cowboys and the Eagles beat the football team, I think the Giants are in.
Yeah, it's kind of a win and you're in. Yeah, but their offense has been terrible lately, and to me, I feel like Cowboys have that game. But I guess the point is, I like Zeke, and I think Jacobs is low risky.
Yeah, it's close for me. I don't really like either of these guys, to be honest. They both went in the first round of our PPR mock, and I'm just like, whatever. Like, people are so crazy for running backs, but I see your point. But I see the point where it's like you said, it's John Gruden. The guy's prideful. He wants to end the season on a win. He doesn't care, right? And he might pound the rock with Jacobs. But the Broncos do have a decent run defense. But so do the Giants, I guess. So I don't know. This is really, really close for me. I want to say Jacobs just because I'm so low on Zeke.
Yeah, to me, I like I said, the way I'm seeing this game go with the Raiders, I think I really like Carr more so than Jacobs. I think they're going to be throwing the ball quite a bit. And, the Broncos, they have all those guys missing in their secondary still. So I think it's a big game for Carr. I don't know. Jacobs, he's not a bad play, but I just don't know how healthy he is. And seeing Zeke get 100 yards last week, he's back. They didn't completely go away from him to go to Pollard like we thought they might. I feel like it could be a big Zeke day, but it's kind of a gut call. Those guys are still kind of close.
I feel like if you're in week 17 and you have Jacobs and Zeke, you got to be playing both of them. Those
true.
Guys are like gold right now. We're getting questions about Ty Montgomery, and you're like Jacobs or Zeke. Like you're in a pretty good spot for week 17 at least. That's true. All right, and then Alden also said Queen's Gambit is legitimately great. Yes, it is. I don't know if you guys know, but Pierre and I have an ongoing, never-ending chess battle. We are fans of chess. That was a great show as well. So, yeah,
I was kind of sad. I for some reason, maybe I misunderstood, or maybe it was so. I thought it was like 12 episodes, and then it was like 7. After the 7th, I was like, that's it, it's over. So I was hoping for more, but yeah, the only thing I'll say, of course, I hate spoilers. Anybody who gives spoilers away for movies or shows, there's a special place for you down below. But with spoilers, no, I'm just gonna say I was a little disappointed with the ending. Just because it wrapped up a little too nicely, but. I get like happy endings and whatever, but still, it was just kind of like, So,
okay.
But it was a great show.
Not to go on too much of a tangent here, but Pierre and I are also big horror movie fans. And I will say my biggest complaint with most horror movies is the happy ending. Like, okay, spoiler alert for that movie Get Out, which came out. If you haven't seen Get Out by now, you're probably not going to watch Get Out. But I hated the way that movie ended. I loved the first 3 quarters. And then it just turned into a Hollywood. He breaks out of the ties and kills all the bad guys and lives happily ever after. And I'm like, this is a horror movie. It doesn't need to end like this. So that's my big pet peeve. Like I was okay with the Queen's Gambit having like everything wrapped up nicely and perfectly because it's not like. I mean, it was a little dark for sure. It was a little dark, like she's addicted to the drugs or whatever, and some bad things happen to her for sure. But I really do hate it when horror movies have a happy ending. It's like.
Yeah, that's definitely true. The one movie, well, and I talked to you about this. I don't know if you saw, but Get Out, the next one by that director was Us.
Yeah, I haven't seen
and that one's better because it was kind of more of a plot twist. Get Out was not really. I don't wouldn't consider it a plot twist, right? They tried to surprise you, but it wasn't too surprising. But Us was more of a plot twist thing at the end, and it wasn't, a happy ending. So that one's better for sure.
Yeah, I need to see that one. I haven't seen that one yet. I think I was a little like after Get Out, I was like, I don't want to watch this.
No, Us is better. It's scarier too. Get Out, I don't consider it even really horror. I guess it's kind of like a psychological thriller, but Us is a little bit more. I don't know if I would call it horror either, but it's a little scarier, a little darker.
All right, let's get back to Week 17 fantasy football.
George, this is what Week 17 is all about.
Yeah, this is
anything goes.
Week 17 is horror. That's for sure. Week 17 fantasy football is horror. All right, George Lou, Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson?
Man, I've been off Russell Wilson for weeks. I benched him in my championship game last week, and I didn't really have a better alternative, which unfortunately, so it didn't work out necessarily, but he didn't make me regret my decision. Like, what did he do? So, I would go with Kirk Cousins, honestly. I think that at least he'll put up some numbers. Wilson going against really tough 49ers defense. And again, Seattle, kind of one of those teams that are in the playoffs. Seeding doesn't matter too much. How hard are they really going to go? But man, Russ has just been off. I mean, really talk about a, not happy ending. The way he's ending this season, Russ Wilson, I mean, I don't know what's going on. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised to see them bounce in the first round of the playoffs. But
the
short answer is Cousins.
The thing with the Seahawks is the Seahawks, the Saints, and the Packers all could get the number one seed, which is huge this year because it's the only team that gets a bye. And it's not like one of those – they're all going to be playing pretty much at the same time. Yeah, they all have one – they all kick off in the afternoon games, the second wave of games. So all these teams, I think the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Saints are going to be trying hard to win. Because if the Seahawks win and the Saints and the Packers lose, the Seahawks are now the number one seed. So they have something to play for. But to your point, the Vikings are going to play hard too. I mean, they're playing Detroit. It's not, neither of these teams are playing for anything, but they're going to play hard. And it's hard to fade a quarterback against the Lions. It's hard to really fade anybody against the Lions. That defense is so bad. I mean, we saw it last week with Tom Brady. He put up 300 plus yards and 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns, whatever it was, in a half. And then Blaine Gabbert came in, and I think he scored like 15 fantasy points in the second half alone against Detroit. So I got to go with Kirk Cousins. It's impossible for me to fade anybody against that Lions defense right now. They're so bad.
Yeah, Detroit defense, Houston defense, Jacksonville defense, you just stream away at will. It doesn't really matter who it is. So, yeah, I definitely think – I feel really good about the Minnesota receivers this week. Especially with Dalvin Cook, you got to remember, Dalvin Cook's not playing. They're not going to pound the ball. This is a team that wants to be, a run control team. They're not going to do that this week. So without Dalvin Cook, you got to love Kirk Cousins.
All right, so Greg Marks asks, he has Mark Andrews, Logan Thomas. So he has to start one of them. So I have one in the flex, but should I start Lockett? Okay, so I think what he's asking is he has Mark Andrews and Logan Thomas. He has to start one of them at tight end, of course. And then he's asking if he should flex one of them over Tyler Lockett. So I think Andrews is like a must start at tight end, right?
Andrews absolutely must start. Baltimore has to win. And Cincinnati is, I don't remember if it's the worst or the second worst defense against tight ends in terms of fantasy points allowed this season. So it could not possibly be a better matchup. Andrews is the number one tight end this week. So absolutely Andrews. Now, Logan Thomas is also a top 5 tight end this week. So it's Logan Thomas or Tyler Lockett. That's an interesting decision because I just finished saying how down I am on Seattle and it's a bad matchup. I actually might go Logan Thomas, honestly.
Yeah, what did I'm trying to look. I know the last time the Seahawks played the 49ers defense was decimated. And I know DK Metcalf had a monster game. Tyler Lockett in that game, yeah, he had 4 catches for 33 yards. So I think I would play Logan Thomas. Well, although it's Alex Smith, I like Logan Thomas so much more with Dwayne Haskins, but
no Terry McLaurin still. Gibson's not 100%.
Actually, I think so the last I saw on Terry McLaurin is he's going to try to play through it because it's a must-win. He's not 100% though.
He'll be a decoy.
Yeah, he might be a decoy. You're right. I can't trust Tyler Lockett though. I'm out on Tyler Lockett, so no, I don't trust Lockett. I got to go with Logan. I'll take my chances with Logan Thomas.
Look, when's the last time Tyler Lockett even reached 70 yards? 70 yards threshold. When's the last time,
Wow. I thought it would be. Well, it's obviously not that game. Wow. Week 7.
Week 7, 70 yards. We're not talking 100 yards. We're not talking about,
Dang.
a monster game with just like a decent amount. So, yeah, no, you can't do Lockett.
And I feel like if you look at DK Metcalf when they played, now again, the 49ers were shorthanded, but he went off for 12 catches, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And he's only, I think, 60 yards or 50 yards short of Randy Moss's. That's Justin Jefferson. I don't know why I was confusing the two. I'm obviously was up too late last night binge watching Cobra Kai. But I think he has – I saw something where he has something in his sights where he wants to reach some number. Oh, Steve Largent's record. That's right. Steve Largent's Seahawks record.
The Seahawks record, yeah.
And I think he's only like 50 or 60 behind that. So I feel like they're going to try to give him that. But we'll see. But no, I don't trust Lockett.
And that's a good point because you brought this up. Like with Evans, these records really matter for players. Maybe not as much for coaches, but they're aware of them and they want to keep their players happy. But it does matter. So when you have some of those benchmarks they want to reach, you kind of have to be aware of that. But yeah, DK Metcalf, he's a fine play today. Tyler Lockett hasn't been a good play the entire second half of the season.
All right, Ronan Yang, do you trust Lockett? No, we just said we don't trust Lockett. He's got Shenault and Zach Pascal. I do like both those guys this week, actually.
I talked about Pascal. I definitely do like him. What was the other choice?
Shenault.
I mean, it's just so hard to trust. But how high is the ceiling with Shenault? You know what I mean? I mean, he's scored a touchdown a couple of times, and he'll have a decent game. But I like the upside of Pascal better.
Yeah, got to go with Pascal. And then Ismail Diaz, Ronald Jones, or A.J. Dillon?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Ronald Jones is back.
Is he back? Okay.
I mean, look, if we could say for sure Dillon's going to get as many touches as last week, it would definitely be Dillon. Thing is, how many touches is Ronald Jones going to get? Because they obviously don't want him to be hurt going into the playoffs. And Atlanta's run defense has been actually really good the second half of the season. Actually, most of the season, it's been their pass defense that was terrible, and the run defense hasn't been bad. I think Dillon is probably worth the upside.
I don't know. What's the latest on Jamal Williams? What have we heard there? Because that's the big thing.
That's the question too. Is Jamal Williams even going to play? If Jamal Williams isn't playing at all, then it's Dillon. But I don't know. Let me see if I can find out.
Yeah, let me see. Anybody have an update on Jamal?
I see now LaShawn McCoy is out, which I don't know how much that matters, but for what it's worth in the Ronald Jones debate. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't see Ronald Jones getting a ton of touches and being super effective with them.
Let's see.
I'm glad we haven't got any Boston Scott questions either because –
Oh, good. Now you just open the door. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything on Jamal Williams, so I'm not sure. That would definitely change things as far as A.J. Dillon goes. But yeah, what is Ronald Jones?
Okay, well, this says full participation, good to go. I see it looks like Jamal Williams is going to play.
Well, then
or at least he can play.
Well, then in that case, I would go Ronald Jones. Because look, I know it's easy to get crazy. I've already seen people talking about A.J. Dillon as like a top 10 dynasty running back after one game, right? Look, it was no Jamal Williams, so it was just Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones got hurt, and look, A.J. Dillon was running well, and that defense basically was non-existent, right? Tennessee, that defense, they can't stop anybody. So with Jamal Williams back in the fold, you got to think it's going to be a lot of Jamal Williams now. A.J. Dillon back to his, very few snaps. I would just gamble with Ronald Jones, personally.
Yeah, if Williams is playing, which it looks like he is, it's too risky. So in that case, stick with Jones.
Well, here you go, Jack Green, your Boston Scott question. See, this is what you do. You now he's out. Do I start Boston Scott or Malcolm Brown?
Not Boston Scott. No, look, I know he's the guy. He's been the guy before. He's fooled us. You know, the Eagles, it's going to be Jalen Hurts who runs the ball near the goal line. Scott's not going to score. They're not going to do much. Well, actually, they might do much because Hurts is actually really good. But Boston Scott's not going to do much. So just no.
But do you like Malcolm Brown more than Boston Scott?
Yeah, you know what? Because Akers, we already said we don't feel like he's going to get a lot of touches. They're not going to push him too hard. Do I like Malcolm Brown? Not with Jared Goff out, but at least we know he's going to get a high volume of touches because the fact the passing game is not going to be effective. So I think we're getting enough Malcolm Brown. And if they happen to get, in the red zone, it's going to be him getting the ball. So I feel better about Brown than Scott, at least scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, I kind of like Malcolm Brown this week. Not super excited about him, but yeah, Boston Scott. Too many letdowns from Boston Scott for me. All right, here's an interesting one from Jacob. J.K. Dobbins or Antonio Gibson?
Well, we've been saying Gibson isn't really 100%. I know they need to win, but yeah, I definitely I love Dobbins this week, so I would go Dobbins anyways.
Yeah, Dobbins in a great spot this week. I think he's a must start personally. I do kind of like Gibson a little more this week. You got to think a little more healthy, but at the same time, I can't bench Dobbins this week. So, all right, Juan Juarez. Good morning. Good morning. Josh Jacobs, Ronald Jones, Josh Jacobs, Ronald Jones. Josh Jacobs, Ronald Jones, or Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. That's an interesting one. I would say I prefer Jacobs over those guys. Don't love Jacobs this week, but I think I'd give the edge to Jacobs.
Yeah, I got to give the edge to Jacobs. We've seen Kareem Hunt, so he could put up such duds. So out of those three, going Josh Jacobs. Dale Cooper, pick one. Russell Gage, Cam Sims. There we go. Or Jalen Reagor.
I've been talking up Cam Sims this week, and that's okay. If McLaurin doesn't play or if he's very limited, Cam Sims is basically the wide receiver one on that team, right? And this is a team that has to win. Gibson not 100%. Sims is a sneaky play. Reagor, love the talent. It just not this year. And Chris, you just wrote up something about Jalen Hurts and talked about Reagor. In fact, Reagor was your overhyped rookie, wasn't he? If we talked about it, rookies and the best rookies. So I know you're off of Reagor.
Yeah, I'm off of Reagor. I got to go with Russell Gage. I know Cam Sims, but here's the thing. Cam Sims with Alex Smith doesn't throw the ball downfield like Dwayne Haskins will. And that's going to really hurt Cam Sims' value. Whereas with no Julio, we know Russell Gage is going to be involved. Tampa Bay's secondary has been getting destroyed, right? Been getting destroyed lately. They haven't been as good. I'm going to go with Russell Gage. And then he also asked, this is an interesting one because this is actually – on paper, it sounds like a crazy question, but it actually makes sense. Josh Allen or Daniel Jones? This is why you don't play Week 17.
Well, because I guess Allen might get pulled late, like what happens, but I don't think so. It's a divisional rivalry. They're gonna go hard to win. I stick with Josh Allen.
I don't know. They don't have anything to play for. Because again, seeding doesn't matter. They can't get the number one seed from the Chiefs. Look, Josh Allen could go out there in one half and throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, right? We've seen it. We've seen him do it. Right. So, but if he only plays a half, and let's say he has like 180 yards and a touchdown, you're going to be kicking yourself for benching Daniel Jones because we know Daniel Jones is going to play the whole game. And it's Dallas. It's Dallas. It's not like you have to be – I know it's Daniel Jones.
Look, I think Josh Allen in half a game could score more than Daniel Jones in a full game.
He definitely could. He certainly could. God dang. See, this is tough because I wish it wasn't Daniel Jones. I mean, I wish you had an option that I felt a little better about. What was Daniel Jones? Yeah, Daniel Jones has been so bad. Wow, Daniel Jones since the bye has been really bad. You know what? I might just roll out Josh Allen and hope for the best. Hope he puts up a big first half.
Okay, look, passing stats. Okay, in the last 4 games, Daniel Jones has a total of 1 passing touchdown. Over the last 4 games, a total. He has passed once for a touchdown.
Pretty bad.
Running, is he running it? No, he has a total of 1 rushing touchdown. It's not like, oh, he's making up for it. He's not. He's literally doing nothing. So there's nothing that I think would convince me to play Daniel Jones over probably anybody. And yeah, so no. Short answer is no. I'm not touching any Giants.
Roll out Josh Allen. Hope he has a monster first half, or they let him play the whole game, which I don't think will happen, but maybe it will. Northern Grower 4466 asked, "Is Devonte Parker playing today?" I think last I saw he was. I haven't seen him ruled out, at least. You know any updates on that?
Let me check. I don't think that he was ruled out either. They need him because they have basically no other wide receivers. Let's see. I'm trying to get something recent. It says Devonte Parker available. So, yeah, he is going to play.
Yeah, how much? That's the question. How effective will he be? That's the question.
Right.
All right, Rodney Smith. Here's one. Stephon Diggs, Antonio Brown, or Amari Cooper. He needs to start 1 wide receiver and 1 flex, so he needs to sit one of those guys.
I mean, we just talking about the Bills. Diggs would be an obvious start, but is he going to get, bench for the second half? That's a little risky, so I have Cooper over him. I like Cooper a lot this week. So I would say you have to start Cooper.
Yeah, but do you like – okay, yeah, I agree with Cooper. Cooper's a must start this week, but we just talked about what Josh Allen could do in a half. No Cole Beasley.
Right.
So do we like Antonio Brown more than we like Diggs? Because Antonio Brown, we don't know what we're getting with Antonio Brown.
Right. Yeah, I would stick with Diggs probably over Antonio Brown just because also similar situation. We don't know how many snaps Antonio Brown's going to play. They might be feeding the ball to Mike Evans. So I would still rather have a half of Diggs than whatever Antonio Brown might do.
Yeah, I agree. Diggs and Cooper. All right, Matt S. Which 2 should I play? David Johnson, DeAndre Swift, Chris Carson, or Myles Gaskin?
Which 2?
Yeah, he's got to play 2 of those. Are we rolling this David Johnson train? Is he like?
I am. Hey, he was my must start last week, and he paid off big time. Had another big week. I'm sticking with David Johnson because, again, the Texans here, I know they have absolutely nothing to play for. I hope they keep losing. Secure that number 3 pick for the Dolphins. That's right. Yeah. But David Johnson, they're going to see what they can get out of him in the last couple of games. That's what they're doing. Right? They don't want to expose Deshaun Watson to more sacks. I feel like David Johnson is a good start, and I feel like Myles Gaskin, because the Dolphins are going to try to win. He's been rolling. Carson just hasn't looked quite himself. It's a bad matchup. Rashad Penny's back. I wouldn't be surprised to give Penny some touches to get him, kind of going as the backup. Hyde has been stealing some touchdowns. So I would personally get DJ and Gaskin in your lineup.
I definitely think David Johnson going against the Titans. We just saw, look, everybody's all crazy about A.J. Dillon because of what he did against the Titans. I do really like Gaskin this week. What about DeAndre Swift against the Vikings? I don't know if you saw, but last week Alvin Kamara had an okay game against the Vikings. Bless you.
These allergies. All right, DeAndre Swift. Yeah. Man, I know Matt Patricia's not there to kind of hold him back anymore. But again, he's been just touchdown dependent lately. He really hasn't broken out for a big game like we feel like he should, right? He should be a great play. But we keep waiting and waiting. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, I love the player, DeAndre Swift. I just hate the Lions in general. Not personally. I just hate that team for fantasy. And then Matt Stafford isn't 100%. I just feel like we're still – the expectations for Swift are higher than the reality constantly. At least I know what I'm getting with David Johnson and Gaskin.
All right, Marie. Mary Dadon, Tannehill or Kirk Cousins?
Love Cousins this week. I know Tannehill is not a bad, starter in any given week. Houston, I mean, the matchup is it's ridiculously good. I know that, but it could also be a Derrick Henry week. Tannehill's just more volatile. I don't know. It's hard for me to pass up Cousins this week based on the matchup because Dalvin Cook is out.
Yeah, I was going to say that about Tannehill. I feel like there is an outside chance Derrick Henry gets to 2,000 yards. I think he needs 200 and just a little over 200 yards, which we know he can do. And I definitely feel like they're just going to pound it with Derrick Henry, and they're not really going to need to throw the ball against Houston. So I do feel like it's a Derrick Henry week, which makes me a little lower on Tannehill. So I will also say Kirk Cousins in a great spot. Should go off. And then also asking Jonathan Taylor or Austin Eckler.
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, those are both really good options. I think you probably got to go with Taylor just because the matchup is so good. Eckler's is not a bad matchup, but still, I'm going with Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor just slightly, though. I mean, again, week 17, if you have Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler, like, you got to find a way to get both those guys in your lineup. Other people are wondering, should I be starting Malcolm Brown? And you're over here with Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler. You got to find a way to play both of them. That's a huge advantage, right?
Yeah, you're in a good spot if you have both those guys and you can only start one.
Yeah. All right, L. Krause, do I play TJ Hawkinson or Logan Thomas full PPR this week?
That's really close. I would probably have to stick with Thomas just because of the things I've talked about with the Lions. We don't know if Stafford's going to make it through the whole game. It's a great spot for Hawkinson. He's a great player, but I would lean to the safety of Thomas.
It's crazy to think we're saying the safety of Thomas. Now, if you knew Stafford was going to play the full game, would it be Hawkinson?
I don't know. Honestly, I think I have Thomas a little bit higher anyways, just because, again, McLaurin also, I don't think he's a full go. Gibson's not 100%. Alex Smith loves some tight end action. So I feel like it's still Thomas.
I know Tom, but I guess the McLaurin thing matters. I'm just thinking about, like, Thomas didn't do a whole lot with Alex Smith, but that was with a healthy McLaurin as well. I do like Hawkinson. I mean, I know it's easy to look at Hawkinson. Oh, man, he's been bad a lot, but he hasn't had Matt Stafford. He's got Chase Daniel throwing him the ball. It's been terrible for him.
Yeah.
There is risk that Matthew Stafford doesn't finish the game, right? But there's risk with Logan Thomas that he doesn't have Dwayne Haskins throwing him the ball. Not that Dwayne Haskins is good, but at least Dwayne Haskins will throw it downfield a little more. This is a tough one for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're both good options, really. Tight end, you're talking about tight end this week especially. They're both top 10 options. I have Thomas a little higher. I feel like the floor is a little higher.
All right, I can go with that. They're close. They're like neck and neck for me. So if I knew Stafford was for sure going to play the whole game, I'd probably go Hawkinson, but there is that risk. Like we saw last week, they'll go out there, get hit, and then you don't see him anymore, and then Hawkinson does nothing. So,
yeah.
All right, Rick H., Terry McLaurin, Alexander Madison, David Johnson. He wants us to rank those three. David Johnson. I think David Johnson, number one for sure out of those three.
Yeah, like David Johnson, Terry McLaurin.
And Alexander Madison. It's like David Johnson, and then there's like a huge drop. It's just crazy. It's crazy that there's a huge drop, but there is, because we don't know if what Alexander Madison's role is going to be. We don't know what how much Terry McLaurin is going to play. We know David Johnson's going to get the bulk of the carries, the bulk of the, he's going to get some receiving work. He's going to get all that. The other two, we don't know.
I guess I would still say McLaurin over Madison.
Maybe.
I mean, they're both risky. McLaurin's playing, like I say, I think he'll be mostly a decoy. I don't think he's going to get a lot of action, but I feel better about his chances to grab a touchdown or make a big play as opposed to Madison. We just don't know how much he's going to be involved or do anything. So I would still at least take the upside of McLaurin.
Yeah, like I said, it's David Johnson clearly number one, and then a big drop, and then you have two guys who have huge question marks surrounding their Week 17. That's tough. All right, Ilias Giftopoulos. Apologies if I mispronounced your name. Now this is one where it's like, how do you not play both these guys? Darren Waller or George Kittle?
It's got to be Waller. I feel like the Raiders are going to pass a lot. It's going to be a pretty easy matchup. I think Waller, is a guy who wants to keep proving himself and put up numbers. So I like Waller this week. Kittle, he's going with the third string quarterback. That's a team, nothing to play for. I feel like he could be limited because he hasn't been healthy either. So I just don't know how much Kittle will be involved this week. So to me, it's clearly Waller.
I do think it is Waller, but I do like Kittle. I mean, Kittle last week, he had 4 catches for 92 yards. So he was on 5 targets. So I think I don't think the involvement's the issue, but like you said, Darren Waller, man, it's hard to bench that Darren Waller right now. He's on fire.
Yeah.
So given those two, I would also go Waller. All right, Jimmy's in the clouds. I'm down by quite a bit and need massive upside. Needs a flex play. I assume he's picking one. Josh Jacobs, Jeff Wilson, or Alexander Madison.
If you have those two other options, Madison's too risky. I would scratch Madison.
Jacobs or Wilson, he's shooting for upside.
Wilson could have a monster game. We've seen him have a couple. So, I mean, there's definitely upside there, even though he's, not the bigger name.
Yeah, I think if you're just shooting for upside, I would go with Wilson.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Wilson's in a pretty good spot because he'll probably get a lot of touches this week.
Who else is getting touches?
Exactly. It's kind of been his backfield, so I think we've seen what he can do. So, yeah, I'd go with Wilson.
And then he needs 2 for wide receiver between T.Y. Hilton, Emmanuel Sanders, and Nelson Aguilar.
Oh, I love Aguilar this week. I'm definitely starting Aguilar. I keep talking about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know. Maybe I'm envisioning too much. I'm really seeing the Raiders put up like all these points against the Broncos and Derek Carr going for 400 yards. It might not happen. But Aguilar has been, he's almost been an every week must start anyways. You realize that in standard scoring leagues, he's a top 20 wide receiver on the season. And he's been going off. He's had a couple 100-yard games over the past month. To me, Aguilar is a great start this week, especially.
Yeah, especially if you need upside. And then between T.Y. Hilton and Emmanuel Sanders.
I got to go Hilton.
Yeah, agree. Especially shooting for upside. Those are the guys that give you the best upside. All right, William Wake. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, William. He needs 1 in his flex. Jeff Wilson, Ronald Jones, Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper, or Corey Davis.
Just 1?
Just 1.
Wow. Okay. No, that's tough. We'll scratch the second and third names. Right. Ronald Jones has some risk.
Ronald Jones, no Tyler Lockett. So
Tyler Lockett,
Jeff Wilson, Amari Cooper, or Corey Davis.
Man, so Corey Davis is a great matchup too, but the number 2 guy technically versus Cooper's the number 1 guy. Cooper's in a good spot. I wouldn't play Corey Davis over Cooper just because the floor is lower. Davis could go off. Look, Corey Davis could be the highest scoring out of all those guys, but he also could be the lowest scoring. So to me, I'd rather have Cooper. So to me, it's between Amari Cooper and Jeff Wilson.
To me, it's Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
I think
it's got to be Cooper.
He's too good of a matchup. Wilson's had some nice games, but Wilson's got the risk of going out there and doing nothing as well, right? So I think with this good of a matchup for Cooper, I think you got to play Cooper.
Is it PPR? Did we say if it's full PPR?
Didn't specify.
Yeah, if it's PPR or even half PPR. Huh? It doesn't matter.
Like he could get you 70, 80 yards and a touchdown. No problem in this one.
Yeah. I think it's Cooper. Wilson, I like Wilson this week, but yeah, I wouldn't start him over Cooper.
All right, and then Trey Harris, would you start Trubisky or Kyler Murray?
And that is not a ridiculous question at all in week 17. Look, Kyler Murray, we weren't sure he was going to play this week, and we're still not sure. But the Cardinals, also in a kind of a must-win situation. Yeah. The Bears also kind of a must-win situation. Both teams are going to be going hard. The Rams defense is really, really good. So that's what makes it interesting. But yeah, I don't think I can start Trubisky over Murray. So I would stick with Murray.
Yeah, I got to play Murray this week. Cardinals have to win, right? They have to win. I mean, so do the Bears, but that's enough for me for Murray. And if we look, he only got 17 points the last time he played the Rams, but he did have 3 passing touchdowns in that game. He had 2 turnovers. They're going to be playing hard. So I can't bench Kyler Murray for Mr. Trubisky. Now, here's one by Jack Green that you may be able to bench for it's Tom Brady or Kyler Murray. Another Kyler Murray question, but Tom Brady this time.
It's tough because like you look and Tom Brady should be one of the best quarterbacks this week based on the matchup. But how much is Tom Brady going to play? That's the question. And could he put up monster numbers in a half and then still outscore Kyler Murray? It was another quarterback with less upside. I would say maybe Brady, but yeah, I'd still stick with Murray.
Yeah, I agree. I'm worried that Tom Brady won't play the whole game. And it's not going to be like last week where he puts up 30 fantasy points in a half. It's not that good of a matchup. So
he had a monster game against Atlanta 2 weeks ago, but again, they're still fighting to make sure they were a playoff team. Now we know they're going to be at least in the playoffs. Yeah, Tom Brady. I mean, if there's a guy, although you know what, we say that, and the last couple of years with the Patriots, Tom Brady was still out there in Week 17 for who knows what reason. But that was a different coach. And that's a different situation. It's still not a guarantee, but I would stick with Murray.
All right, Seahawks 12 hype. Corey Davis or Curtis Samuel, PPR?
It's got to be Corey Davis. I mean, that matchup is just way too good.
Yeah, I agree. Shake and Bake 145, PPR. Mike Gesicki, Hayden Hurst, or Irv Smith?
That's a tough call. You got some players. All those guys have great upside, but they're all kind of low floor players. Gesicki, my gut says Gesicki just because the Dolphins still hurting at receiver. He's a guy who can definitely make a play. Irv Smith has been great lately. Irv Smith is very tempting. The Lions, as horrible as they are in defense, they're not horrible against tight ends. They're more horrible against wide receivers. But Smith could definitely be the highest scoring of those guys. I just don't know if I could put him over Gesicki this week. And then Hurst to me is clearly third out of those. Yeah. So do you like Gesicki or Smith?
I like Gesicki more, especially because we know Tua is going to play the whole game, right? Because Ryan Fitzpatrick out with COVID, and Tua,
that's right,
he'll throw those tight ends all day. So I like Gesicki more personally.
It's a good point because Fitzpatrick is a guy who pushes the ball downfield, actually throws to wide receivers. Tua obviously playing it safer, which is why we like Gaskin this week. I think it's going to be a ton of Gaskin. But yeah, Gesicki definitely has some upside. I think I would have to. I really like Irv Smith in general, and I like the matchup, but I think I like Gesicki just a little better this week.
All right, L. Kraus, which 2 should I start out of DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, and DJ Moore?
Ooh, which 2?
Yes.
Can we trust Robert Woods without Jared Goff?
Am I wrong? Am I wrong to have Hopkins as a must start this week?
I don't see anything that Hopkins isn't playing, so you got to start Hopkins.
Christian Kirk on the COVID list. Yep. Larry Fitzgerald looking very doubtful to play, very questionable to play. The Cardinals have to win. I know it's a tough matchup. I know he's going to get Jalen Ramsey. I know that's the fear here. But I don't see how you bench DeAndre Hopkins.
No, Hopkins is a must start.
So then pick one between Diggs, Woods, and Moore.
So to me, then the question is Woods. Well, Kupp's not playing, but neither is Jared Goff. So can you really start Robert Woods with John Wolford at quarterback?
Oof.
That's tough.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that. And Woods hasn't even really been like down the stretch. He kind of, hasn't been great. Who are the?
I think I might prefer DJ Moore. Again, the Panthers don't have their running backs, so Moore could definitely feast this particular week.
Yeah, I think
Woods is just so risky.
Yeah, Woods is too risky for me. Diggs is the interesting one because it's so hard to bench Diggs.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you think Josh Allen is going to play the whole game and Diggs is going to play the whole game, then you have to start Stephon Diggs, right? You have to. But if
they didn't play the full game last week.
But yeah, well, it didn't matter because they did so through 3 quarters. I mean, look what they did, right? And that's the thing. If they only play a half, they still have so much upside. It's really would be hard for me. I don't think do you think the Bills are just going to go out there and play like a series and then bench the starters? Do you think they're going to play a half? What was your opinion?
No, I don't think so because this is divisional rivalry. They still want to beat the Dolphins. They don't want to go. No team wants to go into the playoffs, heading into it with a loss in the last week. They still want to win. This isn't a team that's, 15-1 and, they got the top seed locked up. It's not like that. They still want to win. But at the same time, the Dolphins want to win too. The Dolphins are going to be a team they, will place again. And the Dolphins have a good defense. I know Diggs had a good game against the Dolphins last time, so that's not a big concern. But yeah, I do think Diggs plays at the very least the whole first half, if not more.
So is that enough to put him over DJ Moore?
That's the thing. I really like DJ Moore this week because the Panthers don't have, their Mike Davis. The Saints are, vulnerable in the secondary, especially with the guys that they're resting or will have to rest. So that's the thing. I really like DJ Moore this week. So I might, man, it's tough to bench Diggs, but I might go with Moore.
See, I'd probably go Hopkins Diggs. I can't. Like Diggs could have 7 catches in the one half alone, right? Which it might take DJ Moore a whole game to get 7 catches if he even gets it. So, especially with no Cole Beasley.
That's true. And do we know John Brown is even going to play?
I think he's going to play, but I mean, I don't know if that
doesn't matter.
He's going to take a ton of targets from Diggs. I think I would go Hopkins Diggs personally.
You know what? That's true. I forgot about Beasley being out. So yeah, I'll go Diggs too.
All right, Ryan Schmidt. So many questions this week for my final. Sucks it's in week 17. Yes, it does. Try to get that changed for next year. 2 QB league. Usually have Josh Allen, but I'm thinking I should bench him for Dalton and Bridgewater. So would you bench Josh Allen for either Andy Dalton or Teddy Bridgewater?
Between those two, it would be Dalton over Bridgewater, I think, because the Cowboys again in a good spot. Like I already said, I think that game is going to definitely go the way of the Cowboys. But man, do I bench Josh Allen? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a closer question than Josh Allen or Daniel Jones, right? Because Andy Dalton can actually. Right. Have we heard anything about Josh Allen's playing time here?
That's the thing that's so tough to predict. It's not an injury situation, or it's just not guaranteed either way that Allen will or won't, play the whole game. So I'd probably stick with Allen because I think he can put up good numbers. With the Giants, generally they're tougher as a pass defense than a run defense. Run defense, the last I checked, they were 23rd. Pass defense, they had been in the top 6 most of the year. I think that's softened up a little bit lately, but still, Bradbury is playing. So I don't think you'll see as good numbers from Dalton as you did last week. He'll have a good game, but I still think you got to keep the upside of Josh Allen. Even if he doesn't play a full game, I would stick with Allen.
All right. Well, this just 17 minutes ago. My understanding, this is a tweet, my understanding from Michael Girardi of NFL Network. My understanding is Matt Barkley will get meaningful snaps in quotes, whatever that means, per source. Starter Josh Allen is just 40 yards away from breaking the team's single-season passing record. Bills also following similar formula to last year's Week 17 when they rested key starters.
Okay, so forget everything I just said. No. Well, look, if that's true, he's 40 yards away.
Yeah, which he can get 40 yards on the first drive.
Okay, so that means after the first quarter, he's probably not playing. Okay, if that's the case and we have that for sure, then yeah, you can start Josh Allen because he's not going to play most of the game.
Yeah, so now I'd say Andy Dalton. And going back to that last question, I would play DJ Moore over Stephon Diggs because it does sound like they're going to rest the starters. So yeah, I would play Andy Dalton. I like Dalton this week. I think he's got plenty of upside. So I would just not risk it and just play Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
All right. So Terry Harris, Rashard Higgins, or Zach Pascal?
I got to go Pascal pretty easily here. I mean, the matchup is just great. He's been feasting. He's Rivers' favorite receiver of the day. So keep Pascal in there.
I agree. Ryan Schmidt, so another question from Ryan Schmidt. If you could pick four out of Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley. So, okay, I'm already saying right now Calvin Ridley's one for sure. Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, Amari Cooper. I think we both agree Amari Cooper is a must start this week, right?
Yes.
So there's two. So now we got to pick two between Aaron Jones, Myles Gaskin, Michael Brown, Malcolm Brown, or Dare. I always butcher his name.
Ogunbowale.
Yeah. Got to pick two out of those.
You go with the first two. Aaron Jones, there's no reason not to play him.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be limited. The Packers, like you said, still trying to get that top seed. Aaron Jones doesn't need a full game to go off, so you got to start Aaron Jones. And then Gaskin, yeah, there's no reason not to play Gaskin. Mm-hmm. Malcolm Brown, again, not a great situation. I mean, he's great as a Week 17 filler if you're missing this guy or the other guy, but, we talked about the Rams issues with not having Jared Goff or Cooper Kupp, so – and then Ogunbowale was good last week. He was good, in the touches he got, but now he's going against the Colts, and the Colts need to win. The Colts are a really good defense, so I don't play him over those guys.
Yeah, I agree. Jones, Ridley, Gaskin, Cooper. All right, Juan Ventura, Aaron Jones, or Robbie Anderson at flex?
Aaron Jones. There's no reason not to start Aaron Jones this week.
Yeah, there's nothing about Aaron Jones this week that's any different than any other week. Even with Jamal Williams healthy, that's what he normally deals with. It's a normal Aaron Jones week. The Packers have to win to guarantee the number one seed. Like, they can lose and still get in if the Saints and the Seahawks both lose, but they want to win. They're going to be trying, so no reason not to start him. Hunter Logan, Ronald Jones, or George Kittle in the flex?
That's interesting. I mean, you're basically trying to wonder how much Jones will be involved. I don't love Jones this week for the reasons, again, he's coming off injury, but also the Falcons have a good run defense. How much is he going to play? I think the risk is all there. There's, Kittle. I don't think Kittle will go off this week, but I think he's safer than Jones.
Yeah, I would just play Kittle. I mean, we saw last week, like I said, 93 yards, 4 catches. He's going to be out there. He's going to be involved. They're not going to pull him to rest him, right? If you're playing George Kittle in Week 17 for the 49ers, you're playing George Kittle the whole game. Like, it's not like he's going to play a series or two and then get benched. So I would definitely play George Kittle over Ronald Jones, especially if it's any kind of PPR league. All right. B-Illa 513 Vids. Full PPR, he needs 2 wide receivers and a flex. All right, Justin Jefferson. I think Jefferson's a must start this week.
Oh yeah,
he is going for the Randy Moss record as far as the Vikings, and he has a legitimate chance at Anquan Bolden's all-time rookie record. He's only 111 yards short. So definitely Justin Jefferson. Robert Woods, we talked about him. Emmanuel Sanders, interesting. Chase Claypool, T.Y. Hilton, Marquis Brown. So he needs one more wide receiver between Woods, Sanders, Claypool, Hilton, or Brown.
I like Hilton best out of that group because, again, Colts will be going hard and, Jacksonville defense, that's just, you can't pass that up. So I still like Hilton.
All right, and then he needs a flex. Well, let's
Marquis
go
Brown
to
is interesting. I know you're not a fan. You're not a fan of Hollywood, but, he's been coming on a little bit lately, going against the Bengals. He's an interesting name, but obviously boom bust. Versus a guy like I'd rather take him over like Sanders, who's just kind of, like he had a great spot last week. Sanders did. I don't feel as good about him this week.
Yeah, I would probably start Marquis Brown in my flex in that matchup. He can always he's one play away, right? So, and then tight end George Kittle or Robert Tonyan.
You know what? Okay, on paper it should be Tonyan because the Bears are actually really bad against the tight end. Tonyan, I know, had his scoring streak snapped, but he's been a red zone target. But Kittle is probably going to get more touches. Kittle is probably the higher floor play.
Yeah, I would go with Kittle definitely. I think he'll be on the field even more this week than he was last week. So, and then he has an interesting QB question: Kirk Cousins or Kyler Murray?
I'm feeling Kirk Cousins this week. Honestly, I think I actually might go Cousins.
Man, it's so hard for me to bench Kyler Murray.
I know
the matchup is tough, but he's running again, right? He's running the ball more. He could run for 50 plus yards and score a rushing touchdown. They're going to be playing hard. They have to win. The Cardinals have to win. I mean, I think they can still get in if they lose, but they need like 1,000 things to go their way. So they're going to be playing hard. Cousins does have that very nice matchup, though. I know just the way I set my lineups, I would probably pick Kyler Murray because it'd be too hard for me to bench him. But I could definitely see Kirk Cousins outscoring Kyler Murray this week. So that's how I do. I would be like, I can't bench Kyler Murray in a must win. So that's how I look at it. But I
get that.
It's tough. That is a tough one. All right. Hunter Smith, I'm gonna let you take this one. Pick 2 in PPR. Ty Montgomery, Alexander Madison, Gus Edwards, or your boy Ogunbowale. So pick 2. Pick 2 PPR. Ty Montgomery, Alexander Madison, Gus Edwards, Ogunbowale.
I'm keeping Gus Edwards in there.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, for all the reasons we've talked about, the Ravens, they're a must win. Going against the Bengals, that's a great matchup for any running back. Love Dobbins this week. Got him as a top 10 running back. I think Edwards still slots in there as maybe top 25. Could be top 20 running back. Edwards gets nearly as many touches. So I'm definitely picking Edwards. I just can't trust Madison. We don't know how much he's going to be involved. And he has the best matchup and maybe the most talent out of all those guys, honestly. But I just don't know how much he's going to be involved, really. Madison is a huge risk. I would take him over Ogunbowale just because, again, he's not a featured back. He had a decent game last week, but going against the Colts, I don't really expect too much from him. So I'd probably stick with Montgomery as my number 2 choice because at least we know he's got to get touches because there's nobody else in that Saints backfield. And he is going to catch the ball more. Madison, he can, but he's not a big pass catcher. So if you're really going to just shoot for upside and just hope for a huge game, it would be Madison. But Montgomery, I think, is a smarter play than Madison. So it's Dobbins for sure, number 1. And then I'd probably go Montgomery 2 and I got Madison 3.
There was no Dobbins.
I mean, Edwards.
Oh,
not
okay.
Dobbins.
Yeah. So
the Ravens guy.
You did Edwards and Montgomery?
Yeah, just saying. I mean, Madison, he should be the best pick of those going against the Lions, but we don't know how much he's going to be involved. Like I said, I think it's going to be a Kirk Cousins day. I think they're just going to pass. They're going to try to get Jefferson that record. They're going to be able to pass all day on the Lions.
Yeah, no, I like Edwards a lot this week. I like that whole Ravens backfield. Well, there's only 2 of them now, thankfully. And then, Montgomery, I think, is going to be plenty involved. So, all right, Ryan Schmidt says, thanks, guys. You're awesome. I'll be back next year. Hey, stick with us all off season, man. We're gonna have off season content coming out. Get you ready for your draft so that you can go undefeated in your league next year. All right, BC well. All right, well, here we go. Diggs or Kenyon Drake. Now it's a little different because with this latest Bills news.
Well, you can't play Diggs now. I mean, I guess it's possible that they put Barkley in at quarterback and keep Diggs out there, but they just said they're going to rest most of their starters. So yeah, you can't do Diggs anymore.
Yeah, I can't. It's too bad. But you got to go with Kenyon Drake here, unfortunately. Too much risk with Diggs now with that latest report. Hunter Logan, Juju Smith at wide receiver, or Higgins. I don't know which Higgins, Richard or T, or pick up Chenault's or Charger. I don't know which Charger wide receiver. So, how we feel about those guys?
Which Higgins are we talking about?
Not sure. Just says Higgins.
I don't mind T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins is a pretty good play, but Boyd is back. Still, it's a tough matchup, though. How do we feel about Juju this week? I guess is the question. The Steelers now back on track. Juju had a good game last week.
No Big Ben.
Are they going to rest anybody? I know they're kind of that in between spot. They're not going to get the top seed, because Chiefs have it. So how much do the Steelers really have to play for?
Well, not a lot. I mean, they're already benching Big Ben. They're 10-point underdogs to the Browns right now. I think I would probably play whatever. If it's T. Higgins, I would play him.
Yeah.
I might just play whatever Higgins it is. I do kind of like Chenault this week, but there's risk there. I kind of like him. I think he's going to have a nice game, but there's risk there. I'd probably just play whatever Higgins it is.
Yeah, I would have T. Higgins the first. Rashard Higgins, it's a little riskier, but again, with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, I don't know how much you can trust Juju, because we saw how that worked out last year. Juju didn't have Big Ben.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say Higgins.
Yeah, I would go with Higgins. And then Nathan Rango, Tymont, or Alexander Madison. Pierre just kind of answered this. It's Ty Montgomery.
Yeah.
Hayden S., my whole team is out, including Kamara. Yes, that's what happens when you play in Week 17. That's why you should not be playing, or at least not be playing your championship game in Week 17. If you want to, it shouldn't matter, right? Your whole fantasy season should not come down to Week 17.
No.
All right, so he's missing Kamara, Keenan Allen, Ayuk, Latavius Murray. So do I start Diggs over Keelan Cole?
You can't start Diggs anymore. We know he's barely going to play. So I guess Keelan Cole and hope for the best.
Man, that's so brutal. But yeah, but the thing is with Diggs, and because if Josh Allen goes out there and let's say he plays 2 series, he gets his 60, 50 yards, breaks the Bills all-time season pass record. Because I know last week he broke the Jim Kelly's touchdown record, so he doesn't need touchdowns. And let's say they put Matt Barkley in. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to take Diggs out right away, right? Because they need. Right. I mean, they still have to put people out there for Matt Barkley to throw to. But you're talking about Stephon Diggs with Matt Barkley, not Josh Allen, and you're also talking about the potential for Stephon Diggs to be pulled way before the game's over. But man, it's Keelan Cole. Ugh. I felt better about it when it was DJ Moore. It's just play DJ Moore and don't run the risk. It's Keelan Cole. Yeah. Who is it? Mike Glennon? Is Mike Glennon starting for the Jaguars again? Is it Mike Glennon?
I think it's it's not Minshew. That's true, because Minshew's favorite target had been Cole. Well, DJ Chark is out though. That's the thing. Chark's not playing. And I don't remember if Colin Johnson is back. He had been out. So Cole, could be the leading receiver, and that's the issue. And that's why Chenault's not a bad play. The Jaguars almost definitely will be losing. So I don't mind Cole, because he, at the very least, should see a lot of volume. And James Robinson is out too. That's the thing. They're missing their top receiver and their top running back. So Cole might be their featured guy.
Man, I don't know. This might be a case where I'm going to roll with Diggs and hope he just does something massive in the first 2 quarters. Keelan Cole is just so meh. It's like meh. Like what
He's
do you?
definitely meh. But this week he at least has some potential.
I don't know. I would probably roll out Diggs and just cross my fingers and hope that on that first drive he gets like 3 or 4 catches and scores a touchdown, and then you're like, cool. I don't care if he plays anymore. I'm good. I got enough. I probably right there already got more than Keelan Cole's going to give me. So, all right, Ahan Malik, Jalen Hurts, or Russell Wilson.
I'm 100% Hurts.
Yeah, I think you got to start Jalen Hurts for sure. And then Madison or Zeke.
Madison or Zeke?
Yeah.
To me, definitely Zeke. Again, I'm not falling for the Madison thing where I think he's going to go off and have this monster game. You know, Zeke's in a great spot. He's going to get a ton of touches. I'm definitely going with Zeke.
Yeah, I agree on both those. William Wake, Chris Godwin, or Corey Davis?
I think probably would stick with Corey Davis just because the risk with Godwin not playing the whole game, or at least Tom Brady not playing the whole game.
Yeah, I think it is Davis. I know the risk here.
That matchup is.
Yeah, the matchup's incredible.
Matchup's good.
The risk is that like it's one of those Derrick Henry 200-yard 3 touchdown games.
Yeah,
but at least Corey Davis is going to play the entire game. We don't know how much Chris Godwin's going to play or who is going to be his quarterback. So I would roll with Corey Davis. All right, and Andres Velarde, Amari Cooper, Marquis Brown, or Pascal?
Well, I think we all like Amari Cooper the best.
Yeah, Amari Cooper to me is a must start this week. Good spot. Going to play the whole game. I mean, Zach Pascal's in a good spot. Going to play the whole game too, but I prefer Amari Cooper. All right, Mason Salisbury, Antonio Gibson. We said Gibson Thomas. You got to be. There's a lot of Thomases. There's a lot of Thomases. Logan Thomas?
It can't be Michael Thomas. I don't know.
Michael Thomas. The answer is no. Let's just assume Logan Thomas or CeeDee Lamb at the flex. So Antonio Gibson, Logan Thomas, or CeeDee Lamb for flex.
I would stick with CeeDee Lamb because, again, I'm feeling pretty good about the Cowboys this week in the passing game and the running game, actually. But I feel decently good about them. I generally wouldn't start a tight end over a receiver unless it's a stud tight end. And Thomas is in a great spot. He's been busy, but he doesn't qualify. He's not George Kittle. So I would stick with Lamb.
So no. I mean, I would probably start Lamb over those two, but no love for Antonio Gibson with Alex Smith back.
I mean, I don't know. Is Gibson healthy? Well, we talked about this also towards the end of the season. Gibson has really been a guy who has benefited, thrived on positive game script. And when things don't go their way, he gets taken out of games. He's far from consistent. He had 4 monster games. And really his volatility, if you look at his game log, a lot of his production, especially rushing yardage, has come in a few big games. And he's had a lot of duds. So he's kind of feast or famine, right? Is he going to have a huge game or is he going to have a disappointing game? I mean, maybe he'll score a touchdown. He's scored touchdowns pretty consistently. But when he's not 100%, I just don't know that I trust him enough. And we're assuming this is a must win. If you're still playing week 17, probably for the championship. I know Philly is kind of rolling over this week. So there is a chance, but it's still risky to me. I mean, it's just the health thing is that's the issue to me. Do you feel like he's healthy enough that he could be an RB1?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question. You got to think he's more healthy than last week, but is he healthy enough? I don't know. But I like Lamb. Lamb's in a good spot. The Cowboys are trying to win. They have to win. Yeah. So I think I would just play Lamb. Play it, I guess, safe. I don't know if a CeeDee Lamb is necessarily safe. But that's what I would play. I was just curious about Gibson because.
Yeah.
All right, Eagles news now. Justin Herbert or Kyler Murray?
This is closer. Keenan Allen is out. Hunter Henry is out. Because of that, I would lean Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Herbert's going to play. They're going to try to win. The Chiefs are resting a lot of starters. Yeah, I can't bench Kyler Murray in knowing that they're in a must-win. He's running again, right? He's using his legs, which is where his value mostly comes from. That's the other thing. I think when they played the Rams last time, he was during that stretch where he wasn't really running the ball. So giving him that rushing upside, I still got to go Murray. Ahan Malik, is Kelce going to play at all? We talked about this early. If he does, I doubt it will be very much. And he's going to have Chad Henne throwing him the ball. So not really excited about Travis Kelce this week at all.
Yeah, you can't play him. Guys like him, and then now we found out with the Bills and, certain players, they might technically play, but they're not really going to have much upside. I mean, yeah, Kelce could be out there the first series and get a touchdown, but are you willing to take that chance over a guy who is going to play a full game? Yeah,
not to mention, are they really going to go out there and score a touchdown on that first drive with Chad Henne? I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible, but this isn't Patrick Mahomes. All right, and then another Kyler Murray question. A lot of Kyler Murray questions today. Ryan Tannehill or Kyler Murray?
Ooh, that's closer. I mean, the matchup is so good. Houston's on defense has been just terrible. So in that case, I might go Tannehill. Again, the risk is that Derrick Henry just runs wild and they don't need to pass. But we said that, actually, I said that a couple weeks ago about the Detroit matchup, because Detroit's so bad. But Detroit's so bad on both sides, run defense and pass defense, and Houston's kind of that same way. So I still take the safety of Tannehill.
But if you look at the Detroit one, if you look at teams against Detroit, they've been, they're terrible against the run, but they're so bad against the pass that teams have been throwing on them, right? We saw it last week what Tom Brady did in a half. So we said, oh, this is a great Derrick Henry matchup, but really you can exploit him so badly through the passing game that you don't really need to run. And you pick up big plays in the passing game. And Houston's terrible against the pass too, but they are so bad against the run, right? Kind of like what we saw the Saints against the Vikings last week when the Vikings were missing like all their linebackers and like their starting safety. The Saints would hand the ball off and pick up 8, 9, 10, 15, 20, 40 yards. Like they didn't need to throw. And I feel like that's what's going to happen with this week with the Titans is Derrick Henry is just going to be picking up 5 yards, 10 yards, 20 yards. That they're just not really going to need to throw enough to give Tannehill that upside. So I would still play Kyler Murray. I feel like I've answered Kyler Murray to every one of these questions, but that's really how I feel. I was like,
and I would feel better about Murray if it wasn't such a tough matchup on defense. The Rams, really good defense, obviously. I think you can feel better just because their offense is hurting. So their defense will be on the field more, right? The Rams aren't going to put up as much of a threat. So that's what makes it so tough for me. So this is a really close call. But again, there's just the issues because, again, Rams are a tough defense. They're missing Christian Kirk. Like you said, maybe Fitzgerald. He's not fully healthy. So there's just some red flags there with Murray. He's still a good option. But if I have a guy who I feel is really safe, I mean, Tannehill's just really safe this week. That's what kind of tips it for me.
All right. And then Eagles News Now also asks, he needs 3. Hollywood, which, by the way, okay, Marquis Brown, he can't be called Hollywood anymore. Where did he get, what has he done? What has he done to deserve the Hollywood nickname? Come on. Marquis Brown, Jarvis Landry, T.Y. Hilton, DJ Moore, C.D. Lamb. Needs 3 of those.
Okay. 3 of those guys. Tell me again. T.Y. Hilton was one?
Yeah, I think we both like T.Y. Hilton. I think we both like DJ Moore.
Yes.
So Marquise Brown, Jarvis Landry, or C.D. Lamb for the 3rd.
I mean, Landry and Brown are very different type of players, right? You want the the safer play, or you want the guy who could go off for a big play. I think this particular week you could probably trust Brown a little bit more. Marquis Brown. I know that's tough to say, but that's probably where I'm leaning.
I was leaning Hilton more and Lamb, personally.
Lamb.
Yeah. Dalton.
Yeah, it's
Dalton
close.
Target Lamb plenty. Got a good matchup. Like we said, they're going to have to try to win. I do like Marquise Brown's matchup for sure, but this could be a game where Lamar Jackson runs for 100 yards, J.K. Dobbins runs for 80 yards, Gus Edwards runs for 60, 70 yards, and they only throw the ball 15 times. Now, he could do damage.
That is true.
He could take one catch to the house or something, but if he doesn't, he's not going to get you very much. I would go Hilton more and Lamb personally.
Yeah, Brown is always boom bust, right? He's always boom bust. So Lamb is not a bad play. Brown probably has a bigger play upside, but Lamb is probably the safer pick. So I just like the matchup. So I lean slightly towards Brown.
I don't know, but even like what's Marquise Brown? Since we're not getting a lot of questions, we can like dive a little deeper into these. Because I was super low on Marquise Brown. I was like, why is everybody so excited about Marquise Brown? Marquise Brown best game in PPR this year was week 5. Well, it was Cincinnati, so there is that. He had 6 catches. He had 6 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. That's his best game on the entire season. Like, what are you like? What is the upside with what is the upside with Marquise Brown? It's a 30-yard touchdown catch or a 40-yard touchdown catch. That is literally the upside of Marquise Brown. He doesn't have this he's got this perceived like Tyreek Hill type upside, but he doesn't really have it.
Well, he's definitely not at that level. That's the thing. Marquise Brown, so he scored in 4 of the last 5 games, gotten a touchdown. Well, Lamb could get a touchdown too. He hasn't done it as frequently lately as Brown. Lamb has 200-yard games in the year, and Brown has 1, which was in week 1. So it's close there. They're kind of similar, even though they're not similar types of players necessarily. I think their upside is fairly similar. The problem to me is not really a problem, but that Lamb is competing with Cooper and Gallup, and Gallup has really come on lately, last couple of weeks. Gallup's been the huge guy. And Marquise Brown is competing with literally nobody. And Willie Snead is out this week. So Brown is at least the wide receiver 1, even though they barely pass. So that's the only difference, is the competition for targets.
All right, Browns.
They're still similar.
Brown's PPR points since week 12. He missed week 11. 18, 14, 13, 15, 12. So there you go. And he scored a touchdown. He got 12 last week only because he scored a touchdown. He only had 25 yards.
Yeah. Now, if he doesn't score a touchdown, then he's not going to do much for you. But
no. Okay. So Ahan Malik asks, should I take the risk and start Kelsey? No. Or play Irv Smith, Johnny Smith, or Jared Cook? Thank you.
Out of those guys, I like Irv Smith.
Yeah, I agree. Irv Smith. So don't take the risk with Kelsey. Irv Smith. All right, Lucius Varenus, 44, needs 2 wide receivers and a flex. Thielen, I think Thielen's a must start this week, but let's see. Godwin, Jeff Wilson, DK Metcalf. So I have Metcalf and Thielen as must starts this week.
Yeah, I agree.
So he needs a flex between Godwin and Jeff Wilson.
It's tough, but I kind of think I would lean toward Wilson just because I feel safer that he's going to be involved all game. And, it's not a bad spot for him. It's not a great spot, but we've seen what he can do. And he's definitely going to get the red zone work. So I think I lean towards Wilson.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just too worried about Godwin not playing much or having playing 3 quarters with Blaine Gabbert. So, and then BC Well, thank you for answering my question. You're welcome. Full PPR needs a flex. Kenyon Drake, Deontay Johnson, Ty Montgomery, Gus Edwards.
I like Gus Edwards, but if it's full PPR, I don't know that I would prioritize him. And then, okay, so say again, you got Drake, Edwards, Ty Montgomery.
Yeah.
Deontay.
Yeah. I can't trust any Steelers receiver with Mason Rudolph. We saw this dance last year. I mean, I know like Washington has some nice games, and I know Deontay Johnson did have some nice games last year, so maybe, but man.
I was going to say, last year Deontay Johnson came on because Juju wasn't around or it wasn't effective, and that was Mason Rudolph. So Deontay Johnson, maybe not a terrible pick, but no, I'd probably stick with Drake, honestly. And I don't love Drake. But...
Yeah, I don't love Drake, but must-win game. He's going to play most of the snaps. I got to go with Kenyon Drake out of that group. Sven one FR Vila, good to see you. Good morning. He said he's already looking forward to 2021. So are we. Like I said, we're going to be doing all off season. We're going to be having content out, so you will be way prepared for your fantasy drafts next year and just dominate from week one. So don't miss that. All right, Mark Pedri, Herbert or Ryan Tannehill?
I'm going to go with Tannehill again. I know Herbert is in a decent spot against the Chiefs, resting everybody. But again, no Keenan Allen, no Hunter Henry. Herbert's not a bad pick. I feel pretty good about Tannehill.
Yeah, this is one where I'd pick Tannehill. Good matchup, good spot. Even though I do think Derrick Henry's going to have a monster game, there's enough here for Tannehill to be higher than Herbert. All right, Ryan Schmidt, Ertz, Hooper, or Jonnu Smith? Oof.
I think you have to love Ertz this week because Goddard is out. They don't have Miles Sanders. This is probably the last game that Ertz will be an Eagle because, they didn't extend him and, I don't think they will. So I feel like it's going to be an Ertz day. I actually really like Ertz behind only Andrews and Waller at tight end this week.
That's a good point. Dallas got it out. I think you're right. It's got to be Ertz. He said he has Ertz starting. Keep him in there. Eagle News now worried about Murray having leg injury and no Fitzpatrick, no Kirk. Yeah, I'm not as worried about the leg injury. I don't think that was anything. I think that was more disappointment than an actual injury, to be honest. I watched that game live and I saw the hit and I was like, he got hurt on that play? I mean, you never know. But I don't think it's anything serious. I'm not worried about him. I am worried, definitely no Kirk. But really, come on. Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk, those guys aren't
yeah, that's not make or break.
Huge losses to this offense, right? That's not really what he's got. Hopkins, and he can still run the ball. So, all right. Mark Pedri also asks flex: Alexander Mattison, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, Terry McLaurin, Gallup, or T.Y. Hilton. Well, I think T.Y. Hilton out of that bunch, right?
Just one?
I assume just one.
Yeah, Gallup's interesting, but I wouldn't put him over Hilton. I would say Hilton.
Yeah, and then he also asks Evans or McLaurin. PPR.
Definitely Evans.
Yeah, definitely Evans. They're going to try to get him 1,000 yards. He's going to be out there enough. John Boy. DJ, I guess David Johnson or Chris Godwin, full PPR.
David Johnson. If we're talking about DJ David Johnson, yeah. If we're talking about DJ Moore.
Is it Deontay Johnson? That's the thing. If it's David Johnson, I'd definitely say David Johnson. If it's Deontay Johnson,
Yeah. Okay, maybe we see if we can get a clarification.
Well, would you start? I would probably still start Deontay Johnson. Just because I'm worried that Godwin's going to get benched early.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and the whole Mason Rudolph thing, he did okay with him last year. So I don't love Deontay Johnson this week, but don't love Godwin either.
All right, here's an interesting one. Anthony Kova, AJ Brown or Justin Jefferson at flex?
Easily Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson goes off this week.
Yeah, I agree. But man, gotta find a way to start both those guys. It's week 17. When you have those options, you gotta find a way to start both. Let's see. All right, Anthony Kova, Zeke, AJ Brown, or Justin Jefferson. One of those for flex at full PPR.
And all good options. Those are tough. I feel good about Zeke, but not over those two guys. I'm sticking with Justin Jefferson. I really like AJ Brown. You can't not like AJ Brown, but like I said, I think Justin Jefferson goes off. I think it's a Cousins Jefferson week, so I have him just a bit ahead of AJ Brown, even though AJ Brown will probably go off too.
Yeah, I don't understand how you're in week 17 with all these injuries, all these players out, and you can't get all three of these guys in your lineup. Like, what is your lineup like that you can't get all three of those guys in your lineup? That's crazy. All right, Raymundo Rios. My apologies. Ty Johnson or Malcolm Brown?
Ty Johnson. We're talking of the Jets now.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Okay. So I get it. Gore is out, and I think P. Ryan is on the COVID list. He's out too, if I'm correct.
Yes, I believe so.
So we're going to see Ty Johnson and Josh Adams at running back for the Jets. I mean, that doesn't get your juices flowing. I don't know what does. But we're talking about the Jets, who have won 2 games now for whatever reason, and they're looking decent. But we're talking Ty Johnson. Now, look, I know Ty Johnson had 100 yards the other day, but he's still Ty Johnson. Going against the Patriots, are the Patriots going to roll over? Probably not, but they're looking rough anyways on their run defense.
I mean, based on what we saw last week, I would think they have rolled over.
There's a better chance Brown gets a touchdown, but I actually might go with Ty Johnson based on the upside here, which sounds crazy, but the fact that he's at least going to get, a chance to face the Patriots in a game where they want to win. I know that doesn't really matter, but Johnson at least has that kind of breakaway speed if he's in the open field, which Brown doesn't. Brown's just more of a plotter. So Brown might get a touchdown, but I don't feel a big game is possible for him, really. A big game. Johnson, at least we've seen what he could do. So I guess I go with Johnson.
Yeah, I roll with Ty Johnson.
I think if Cam Akers wasn't playing at all or trying to play, I don't think he'll play much or do much. But, if he wasn't playing, then maybe Brown. But, yeah, Ty Johnson's going to be the guy, the featured back for the Jets. And Brown is just kind of splitting time.
All right, Watson, Murray, or Rodgers at quarterback?
You got to go with Rodgers. Rodgers lock.
Got to start Rodgers. They're trying to win. He's trying to get the MVP. He even said that winning the MVP means a lot to him. If you couldn't tell by the fact that every time they get down to the goal line, he just throws the ball every play until Tannehill or Devonte Adams scores. It's like, no kidding, Aaron Rodgers, you want the MVP? Couldn't tell. This is a jaded Aaron Jones fantasy owner, by the way. All right, Jahir Mercado, Gus Edwards or Wayne Gallman?
Wayne Gallman hasn't existed in fantasy for a couple of weeks now. You can't. We've been telling you must sit for a couple of weeks. No Giants, just don't.
Yeah, I like Gus Edwards this week. All right, here you go. Han Malik, Zach Ertz or Irv Smith?
Oh man, I do like Irv Smith, but I think it's an Ertz week. I'm sticking with Ertz. He's a really good play. I don't be surprised he has his best game of the season, which isn't saying much, but still.
Yeah, I was gonna say. All right. We just did Ty Johnson or Malcolm Brown. Okay, the Colonel Sanders. I'm assuming he means Emmanuel Sanders or Robbie Anderson, because Miles Sanders isn't playing. So I'm gonna assume he means Emmanuel Sanders or Robbie Anderson.
And this is coming from the Colonel Sanders?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's fitting he has Emmanuel Sanders. Every time, you might think of chicken, but every time I hear Colonel Sanders, I think of Spaceballs. I love that. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken. Anyways, Robbie Anderson just hasn't done much lately, has he?
Well, he actually had an okay game last week.
He had a good game last.
It was a must sit, and he had an okay game. But Emmanuel Sanders, just so.
Yeah, I would stick with Robbie Anderson here. Emmanuel Sanders, just don't feel great about the Saints this particular week.
Yeah. I would go Robbie Anderson as well. All right, John Boy, DJ Moore or Godwin? I think we both say DJ Moore. Both like DJ Moore. All right, Hayden Jutes, 49ers defense or Green Bay defense? A defense question. I love these.
All right, defense. Talent-wise, it's clearly the 49ers. The Packers going against the Bears. I mean, Trubisky hasn't been turning the ball over, to his credit. Just not as much upside with Packers. They're not a team that forces a ton of turnovers anyways. I mean, they have 10 interceptions on the season. I don't know, but yeah, I would have to go with the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, against the Seahawks, it's not like Russell Wilson is a turnover machine, but he does take sacks, right?
Right. And they're not putting up a lot of points lately.
That's true. I think these are both good spots. I'll give the 49ers a slight edge. Although, I really want to say Green Bay. I feel like they're just going to take it to Trubisky. Trubisky in a must-win game, I feel like this is a 5-sack, 3-interception game, guaranteed, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends how much faith you have in Trubisky. I'm always, for some reason, a little higher on him than the consensus. He's been playing pretty well. David Montgomery's been, lights out.
All right, let's see. Josh Jacobs or Diggs? You got to go with Jacobs. We talked about Diggs. Bills looking like they might be resting their starters early in this one. So we got to go Josh Jacobs. Michael Gallup or Emmanuel Sanders? Normal scoring. Okay.
Got to go with Gallup. He's been on fire lately. Feel pretty good about the Cowboys this week. The upside just isn't there with Sanders.
The Colonel Sanders said LMAO, Spaceballs. Let's see. Long hair. Chris Carson, Miles John.
Great movie. Classic movie.
All right. Pick 2 running backs between Carson, Gaskin, and Madison. I think it's Carson and Gaskin for sure, right? We're both a little too nervous about Madison. 2 wide receivers with Hopkins, Thielen, Brandon Cooks, Chris Godwin. I mean, definitely Hopkins. Do we also like Thielen? Do we like him more than Brandon Cooks?
Yes, you got to go with Thielen.
All right, and then a flex between Madison, Cooks, or Godwin. I would go Cooks.
Go with Cooks too. It's a good matchup. They say they're not going to rest Deshaun Watson. We'll see. It's possible that game gets out of hand. I wouldn't be shocked if Watson sits at least the fourth quarter, but he's a gamer. Cooks, and it's Tennessee's defense hasn't been very good. They don't really generate much of a pass rush. Well, actually, they don't generate any pass rush.
They don't generate any pass rush, like legitimately none. It's crazy. So yeah, I would roll with Cooks. All right, and then mega favorite one, Gus Edwards, Ronald Jones, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson.
As much as I love Akers as a player, you can't trust him this week. I already said I don't really trust Gibson, even though it should be a great spot. I just don't think he's healthy enough that you can trust him. So I can't play either of those two guys.
Yeah, I would roll with Gus Edwards here. Love that matchup. He's getting enough work.
Yeah.
Madison, Gio, or Ty Johnson? Our first Gio question.
Gio, I can't trust Gio either. We thought that last week would be a great spot. He had that, of course, big game against the Steelers where nobody thought he would. And then he kind of disappeared all of a sudden with Samaje Perine. And I don't know in week 17 that we're going to see a ton of Gio. I think we could see a mix of him and Perine, maybe Trevion Williams. Who knows? But I just don't feel great about it anyways because they're going against the Ravens. So I'm not big on Gio this week.
Are you bigger on Ty Johnson than Gio or Alexander Madison than Gio?
I might at least, I might just try the scratch off, hopefully that you hit the jackpot. So between those two, I kind of feel better about Ty Johnson.
I mean, I'm a Gio guy. I would roll. Gio got a lot of work last week. It's just Perine had that one 35-yard touchdown. And Perine did get work as well. So it is a tough matchup against the Ravens, but Ty Johnson. All right. The Colonel Sanders also asks, this is an easy one, Hayden Hurst or Robert Tonyan. I think we both say Tonyan, not Hurst, right?
Definitely Tonyan.
Pats D, Tyler Bruce, Pats D or Saints D. Now this is tough because the Patriots D has been terrible, but it is the Jets.
The Jets are rolling and they got Ty Johnson in the backfield. So, Sam Darnold hasn't been terrible lately. I don't know that we can trust the Pats D.
Yeah, I would just play the Saints defense.
Yeah.
Against Panthers, nothing really to worry about there. All right, Serge Kratos. Here's an interesting one. Gallup or Aguilar?
I love Aguilar this week. Man, that's close, though, because they're both very similar players, aren't they? Right? Guys get a ton of air yards, stretch the field, a little more boom bust. Gallup has been super involved, and I've already said I really like the Cowboys this week, but I don't know. I feel a big game. The Raiders, Carr and Aguilar, they stack them everywhere. No, I give the edge to Aguilar because, again, he's the lead receiver technically on that team, and Gallup is still competing for targets. So I lean Aguilar.
Yeah, I do as well. I like Aguilar. It's just him and Darren Waller, basically. Ace Filmer played Diggs and Allen. I wouldn't. It sounds like they're going to rest. Like, Allen only needs 40 yards, and they'll probably bench him.
Yeah.
Diggs might play, but he's going to be playing Matt Barkley, so I don't know. Don't feel great about it. Thoughts on McKissick or Hunt? Kareem Hunt, boom bust as it gets for a running back. Don't love it.
Hunt has been really disappointing down the stretch. I don't know why. They just are not involving him at all. So I think McKissick is the play.
Yeah. Han Malik, do you think they'll play Kelsey for the receiving yard record or no? I mean, so I looked it up. He's 43 yards behind Stephon Diggs. I mean, that means he'd have to. I mean, and Stephon Diggs is going to start. So if the Chiefs are going to try to get Kelsey the receiving record, he probably needs 80 to 100 yards. I don't see them risking 80 to 100 yards. So no, I really don't think Kelsey's going to play much, if at all. No, I don't think so.
We've said there is definitely something to that. Guys play for, the accolades and the record, whatever. But in this case, it's not a clear-cut thing where, 2 catches and he's got this and he's out, got the franchise record. This is a little more ambiguous. And again, what are the Chiefs playing for? He's a guy who's been there, done that. I think keeping him healthy for the playoffs is going to be more of a priority. So I don't start Kelsey. It's too risky.
Yeah. All right, John Boy, DJ Moore or Michael Gallup?
Like DJ Moore this week. Again, it's close there. They're kind of similar players, but I feel good about Moore since Davis is out.
Yeah, I like DJ Moore this week. All right, that's it. That was actually more questions than I expected on week 17. I'm sorry so many of you are having to play today, but I'm appreciative that you all jumped on here and asked this question. So at least it makes that part good.
Well, I'm glad we did this. We thought, we weren't sure how many people still play week 17. Apparently more than should be. Again, guys, it's just, you see the reasons. I read the long list of all the players who were out this week. I mean, and then we had that one user who was saying, basically, my entire team is out. Well, then, you know what? That's not your fault for having such a good team. If you think about it, it's the players on the best teams. The best players are the ones who are sitting. You're being penalized for having a good team. So that shouldn't happen. So again, try to get it switched. There's some formats that we've played where it's a cumulative thing where week 15 and 16 points, where it's not head to head, might do a total like a tournament thing. There's all sorts of different ways to do it. If you don't want week 16 to be the end all be all, if you want to include week 17, do it that way, where week 15 on or week 14 on, it's a total points thing or something like that. There's ways to get around it, but man, if you're still playing this week, all we can say is good luck. I'm glad we did this so we could help, because this is the time to ask questions, because obviously you need some help with so many issues. So hopefully, we hit all the right chords here and help you win. All right, guys. Well, that'll do it. The last regular season Endgame live, it doesn't mean that we won't be doing this again. You know what? Maybe we'll go live for the NFL draft. Maybe we'll go live for some other things, but we'll definitely be here all off season. Don't think that we're not going to see you until, next August or something. We're here all off season. We'll talk dynasty. We'll talk NFL draft. We're going to do some fun things too. Talk about all-time fantasy teams. We'll have so much to cover and some topical things. Talk about certain players. We've got all sorts of things up our sleeve, right, Chris?
Yeah, exactly, guys. Like I've been saying, we're going to get you ready for next season. So when you go into your draft, it's like boom, 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 and you're already the number one team. No biggie.
Exactly. That's the smart players, what they do. Our end game is to help you win. It doesn't just mean, show up in week 1 and, figure out who to start. It means preparing through the off season. You love fantasy football like we do. You're going to enjoy getting ready, and you're going to have a huge edge on the competition. Guarantee it. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks to our loyal viewers. Of course, those who've been with us since the beginning. We appreciate it. Again, if we've helped you at all, spread the word. If you've already hit subscribe, tell your friends, just not your league mates, so they don't get an edge, but everybody else who doesn't play fantasy football, let them subscribe. All right. Hopefully we helped you.